Hello everyone, welcome to Anime No Mi, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. In today's video, we're going to talk about Luffy's fruit, which is no longer the same one we thought we knew. Now, the Gomu Gomu no Mi seems to be a name that was invented by the ancient Gorosei, where the real name of Luffy's fruit is the Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. Or rather, the well-known Gomu Gomu no Mi, or rubber fruit, is in fact a powerful Zoan fruit representing the sun god. This devil fruit has become one of the biggest mysteries today and seems to have granted Luffy incredible power and strength, a power that may in fact allow him to do whatever he wants to do. After the revelation that Luffy possessed the power of a legendary fruit, several doubts arose because of this amazing fruit, and one of these doubts in fact came out of the lines of one of the Gorosei. So a Gorosei shares that every time the world government has gotten their hands on the Nika Nika fruit, they always seem to lose it, and over the last 800 years, it always ends up being strange events that make them lose it. In today's video, we're going to talk about the true identity of the fruit that Luffy has, what the mystery of the fruit could have, and how the world government always seems to manage to lose the fruit of the god Nika. But before we dive into the video, if you're new to the channel, we'd be honored if you'd consider leaving us a like or even subscribing with a comment letting us know what you thought of the video. It really helps us out and motivates us to create more content. And if you want to help us out even more, consider sharing the video with friends. But without further ado, let's get into the video. At the very beginning of One Piece, Luffy's fruit was introduced to us as the Gomu Gomu no Mi, or rubber fruit. And this fruit only seemed to allow Luffy to stretch his body as if he was a rubber man. In an SBS, Oda revealed that he gave this fruit to Luffy because he didn't really want Luffy to have a super powerful fruit capable of destroying any enemy with just one shot. He really ended up creating the fruit because he was thought that rubber was the funniest power. Now, this could actually be the first tip that Oda gave us that Luffy's fruit could have an additional power. But we really didn't understand it at the time because there wasn't much information to grow possibilities. After all, Oda's tip was the word fun. But in recent chapters and events, the moment Zunisha was heading towards Wano, the possibility has opened up that Luffy's fruit wasn't actually the one that was presented to us. This is because during Luffy and Kaido's fight, the Gorosei make a very important revelation to us. They say that a legendary fruit was about to awaken, a devil fruit that had not awakened for more than 800 years. Because if someone had managed to awaken this power, it would be very noticeable throughout the world of One Piece, as the user of this fruit would demonstrate an incredible power and perhaps even recognized as a sun god. When this information was revealed, many fans thought the Gorosei were referring to Zunisha, as while the Gorosei were talking about the legendary fruit, we see Zunisha being depicted in the manga right behind a marine ship that was also headed to Wano. But during One Piece chapter 1043, it's confirmed that the Gorosei were referring to Luffy because Zunisha tells Momonosuke that Joy Boy had come back, that she in fact had heard the drums of liberation. It's then at the end of the chapter, in the very last panel, we see something strange happening to Luffy after his defeat against Kaido. His body seems to melt, and mostly his hair and his straw hat were bubbling up in some kind of way. In the most recent chapter of One Piece, 1044, we see the real name of Luffy's fruit and some information that could be very important in the future. See, during a conversation between the Gorosei, one member of the Gorosei shares with another that the Gomu Gomu no Mi is actually known as the Hito Hito no Mi, a Zoan type of the Nika Nika model. So this is a fruit that has the power of the sun god and is described as ridiculously powerful. Based on what the Gorosei mentioned, the fruit of the god Nika gives the ability to completely modify their body in any way they want, and they are only limited by their imagination. Now, the true nature of the sun god Nika part of this fruit has not been awakened for many hundreds of years for some reason or another, and the world government, time after time, has tried to obtain this legendary fruit, but every time they lose it from some strange circumstance. And it seems that this fruit just kind of floated from person to person, and nobody really ever ate it. They just simply kept it safe. And this may be the reason that the world government was always able to get it back into their possession. And because they changed its name, the world really wouldn't be on the lookout for such a rare and wondrous fruit. Now, if you also think about it, the ancient Gorosei named it the Gomu Gomu no Mi as the rubber fruit to kind of make it a power that nobody would really be interested in. So by hiding the fruit's true name, the power of this fruit could just lie dormant before it was ever awakened and really showed its true power. But once this fruit was in Luffy's hands, he seemed to start using the rubber abilities and using them in more novel ways, and even on top of that, had managed to also couple fire powers, as we've seen with his Red Hawk attack. And although most of us were willing to accept the fact of Luffy's fruit giving him elasticity and resistance of rubber, we all kinda wondered how the powers of the fire came along, when in fact it really was the powers of the sun god laying in wait. Now, because this is the fruit of a deity, a sun god if you will, it It's said to have a will of its own and may even have its own kind of consciousness. And not only that, this legendary flute seems to have the ability to influence people according to what is said by the Gorosei. And this is something completely new in the One Piece universe. The fact that a devil fruit, not a devil fruit user, has the ability to influence people. But with the information we're getting, it seems like this is the direction we're going. So going back to the very first appearance of this devil fruit, there have been two versions of how Luffy ended up eating this fruit, which was at the time known as the Gomu Gomu no Mi. The first version of the story we know is that after some kind of confusion between Shanks' crew and some enemies, Luffy in a moment of anger sees the fruit inside the chest. And Luffy eats the fruit impulsively and not out of his own will, because we know that devil fruits tend to taste pretty horrible. Now, just the first bite of any devil fruit is enough to give the person the power of the fruit. But even with the horrible taste, Luffy still seemed to want to finish the fruit. And there's no real reason why Luffy would insist on eating the devil fruit after the first bite, because as I just said, the fruit tastes horrible. So at the first bite, he would have probably just given up eating it. But what we see is that Luffy eats at least half the fruit without even realizing that he was doing it. Now, the second version of this story that we see is while Shanks' crew is arguing with the same enemies, while this is happening, Luffy is eating. However, during the confusion, he ends up taking the devil fruit without even realizing it and starts eating it. But even with this slightly different version, we still know that the devil fruit would taste awful, but Luffy continues to eat it. So what exactly would compel Luffy to eat so much of the fruit? And it's this very possibility that leads us to believe that Luffy was in fact influenced by the fruit to eat it. And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense, because if this fruit possesses the ability to influence people to do its will, to bring joy to the world, then perhaps it even has the ability to recognize or even influence the next wielder of the power. Another thing to consider is that before Luffy even ate the Nika Nika fruit, Lucky Roux was the one responsible for taking it off the Navy ship. So what if Shanks and his crew were influenced to go take the fruit, but not actually eat it? Now, because the fruit was in the possession of the world government, the fruit would have likely been taken to Mary Joie, which is in fact the safest place that the Gorosei could ever keep it, because in any other place, the fruit could still just disappear. But somehow, Shanks and his crew got the perfect moment to go after that fruit. We don't know if they really may have known about the Nika part, but we do know that they went to the location and faced Cypher Pole in order to get a hold of that fruit. And with any other additional influence or luck, it could be that they in fact were tasked to take that fruit to the very place so that Luffy could end up being the person that ate it. And even after Shanks was asked if it was really okay to let Luffy have the fruit, as it'd been so difficult to get a hold of, Shanks seemed to have noticed that Luffy was chosen for that fruit. For indeed, the legendary fruit may have influenced Luffy to eat it. So because the world government has always had trouble holding on to this fruit, it could be that Nika may have influenced other people to take the devil fruit out of the government's hands, as Nika could actually be against what the group is about. Because from what we know about the legend of Nika, the sun god comes to liberate, and that would be in direct confrontation for what the celestial dragons and the world government are all about. So perhaps this fruit has just been looking for the right person to inherit Nika's will, and Joy Boy may have been one of those person, or in fact the last person. But now, Luffy is the chosen one of this generation. For a moment, just think about how Luffy describes what being King of the Pirates is. He describes it as being the freest person on the sea, and he wants to be free and be able to do anything he wants, and to bring that feeling to other people. And in a way, this continues to bring joy to all the people of the world. We've also seen his personality, that radiance, be talked about by other people, including admirals, and how that his infectious personality is in fact one of the most dangerous powers that a person could have. And it could be that Nika had this very dangerous power as well, the ability to bring joy and freedom to the world. So if Nika was in fact inside that fruit, he'd want to continue bringing that feeling of freedom and happiness. And that fruit wouldn't just stay in one place, it would continue to move around the world until it found the person capable of bringing that same joy and happiness to other people. And in its journey, ultimately it was looking for Luffy. Now, it hasn't been totally confirmed that Joy Boy and Nika are the same person, but since Anisha talked about Joy Boy returning, and some know Nika, the sun god, and Joy Boy both lived during the Void Century, we could probably just tie the two together. And whether Nika was really a deity, or just perhaps the previous users of the fruit had made such great achievements that they were considered gods, wherever it ends up in the world of One Piece, we are excited to see what Nika, the sun god, could bring to this world. But for now, let us know what you think about it. Do you think this is in fact the secret of Luffy's devil fruit, or could there be something else? Let us know in the comments below. So as we close out the video, we want to thank you so much for for watching the video all the way until the very end. Make sure you comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos, and since you've made it this far, give us a like as you head out to take on the rest of your day. Hope to see you all in our next video, and let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.